So I've got my mug here. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the last video is, what did I not do? All right, you may have realized I never actually score slipped and smoothed any part of this together. All I did was smooth the seam where it was, and then as we did the rolling of it, never had to score slip and smooth. That is one unique difference to this project. There will be a couple areas where we can smooth stuff. The handle, obviously, we need to score slip and smooth because we're attaching something perpendicular, but for the most part, we want to make sure we do that. Okay, so you don't have to actually score slip and smooth anything if you do it correctly. The other thing is, when you put this away for the night, okay, don't leave your cylinder, your plastic tube in the clay, because as this tries to shrink, it will actually tighten up around this and you won't be able to get the tube out of there. As you're working on it though, you do want to keep the cylinder in there as much as possible. So, how do we get the cylinder in and out of there? Very simple. Because the newspaper's on there, we put our hand on top of our cylinder, or our clay cylinder here. This should just slide right out, okay? Grab your newspaper, give it a couple little twists, and that should come out just like so. Piece of cake, okay? Now, one thing you may notice on the inside of the project, hoping you can see that, this is that seam, all right, that was created when we brought the two pieces together. The other thing, and I don't know if you can see it, at the very bottom, I've got a little bit of clay that's kind of built up around that. So we're gonna go ahead and smooth those things out. Now, obviously, I can't get a finger all the way down inside of that seam, but what I am gonna do is I am just going to, hopefully you can see it if I do it maybe this way, okay, is I'm just gonna go ahead and take tongue depressor, popsicle stick, I've even used the end of a paintbrush, okay? And we're going to go ahead and smooth that just like we did on the outside, okay, as best we can. Now there's a little piece of newspaper on the inside that kind of stuck. Not the end of the world, I'm just kind of scraping it off on the inside. I'm not too concerned about it because that newspaper will disappear when we fire it. But if we can get it out of there now, I think it'll help later on. So that's a little bit of that newspaper that came off as I was smoothing there. Almost like you need tweezers or something, but just very carefully scrape that off. No, that's not gonna work. Very good. There we go. There we go. Fell out that time. Okay. Let me go grab one more thing. So this is a wooden dowel, okay, about inch in diameter. At the very bottom of it, and I don't think you can see it in the video, but on the inside, there's a little bit of the clay that kind of squeezed out, I guess you could call it, or didn't quite stick, or when I wrap that piece around. And all I'm doing is I'm just very lightly tapping it so that it smooths that out. And the reason I want to do that is because the inside of my mug at the very bottom needs to be as flat and smooth as possible, okay? I'm gonna grab a paintbrush. Grab a clean paintbrush, and then I can take a little bit of water and maybe smooth that in, all right? Because if there's any cracks or if there's any areas that aren't perfectly smooth on the inside of this, when I put ice cream for a root beer float, or lemonade or some soda or something like that in there, what I'm worried about is that it will then collect in those little cracks. Bacteria starts to grow, and then we have something that is not sanitary. So we want to make sure we do that. I guess you could say that some of the glaze will fill that in, but we just want to make sure that we're covering all our bases, just to be sure. A little bit more clay there. There we go. Just about got it. Yeah. Not clay, newspaper. Some newspaper that got in there that I don't want. Okay, so there we go. Got that out. And then I'm gonna go back over my seam here to make sure that that is nice and smoothed. All right, so you can see that I smoothed that out a little bit better. All right, what you can do is, if this is the second day, you can go ahead and slide the tube in there while you're working on it to keep it round. Just be careful that you're not putting too much pressure here. If the clay is wet, there's a possibility it will stick a little bit. So we want to be very careful with it. But what I'm going to show you in the next video is how to create handles. All right, handles can come in a variety of different sizes, shapes, designs. But I'm going to show you that in the next one.